We have a little wind coming through now. Oh, it's beautiful out here. There's actually some icicles hanging off the gazebo. I don't know if we'll be able to see them over there, though. Wonderful little icicles. The snow has returned. What you're going to do, you're going to enjoy it. That's what you're going to do when it gets here. You know, it's a very chilly day. The snow came back. Oh, I thought we got the spring. Either way, hello and welcome to the river. We're out here to enjoy some wonderful time together. Hope you're doing marvelous. A quick visual descriptor: I have long brown hair, glasses, a black coat and hood, a blue overcoat, coffee mug in hand. Right behind me is the river, the snow, and the sun rising up behind the trees. I hope you have your coffee, your tea, whatever it may be, whatever makes your day excellent, whatever gets you going. You know, you can't always see what's coming. You can see forecasts for the future, but that doesn't necessarily mean you know. But for your own future, there's ways to forecast certain things. Will your skills improve in an area that you've been working on? Well, if you continue to work on it, yes, you can forecast that. It most certainly, will happen. Those skills will improve. So let's talk a little bit about writing today. Specifically, 3 things that you can do to build your writing skill set, to build better writing. No matter what kind of creative you are, no matter what kind of creator you are, or what art you engage in, at some point in time, you're going to have to write something up. Now, if you're a poet or an author, well, you're already doing lots and lots of writing, but there's still ways to improve on it. And if you're a painter, you're going to have to, at some point, write some sort of artist statement. And you're going to need to write descriptions for your paintings, or at least some manner of explanation of the feeling behind them. But of course, there's so many other types of people out there that require writing on a daily basis, or at least a very frequent basis. So we're going to talk about 3 things really quick. The first one is practice writing in your head. I know that's going to sound a little perhaps strange, but stick with me. Writing is a wonderful way to give our voice form for others. We place our voice down, and that essence of us on the page is going to be read and interpreted by others. We can be incredibly specific, or we can be open and vague. We can be highly descriptive, or we can be highly emotive, all depending on a style of writing that best fits what you want to do. But you're gonna have to practice, and one of the best places to practice is in your own head. Uh, Also, quick good morning to everyone on Twitch. Thank you for joining me, and for anyone who's joining me right now on LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube. Thank you for being here. I appreciate seeing you so much. Now, practicing writing in our own head is really just a way to help develop your voice before it ever hits the page, before it ever gets typed out or written down or recorded into a voice note or anything like that. If you practice in your mind, what you're going to be able to do is look at the world around you and think, how would I describe these things? How do I take these things in? Because a portion of your voice when you're writing is actually trying to translate the way that you take in the world and then putting that into words, which can be a little difficult at first for some people. But you're going to find it very rewarding. So in your own mind, you can go ahead, you can make this an exercise that you can do daily. You'll pick an object or a place or a person, and you'll consider all the ways that you would describe them. Maybe you describe them through feelings. Maybe you describe them through actions. Maybe you describe them through characteristics. And the same thing, of course, for places. A restaurant can be a place of love simply because it brings up feelings about family, or it can be a place of warmth because the wonderful paint on the walls, it feels warm and cozy. But however you describe it, that's really what you want to catch. So make this a daily practice. Practice writing in your head. This is a nice daily exercise to improve that writing skill. Find the way that you experience the world and then find the words for it. Describe things to yourself in the way that come through for you. You'll find your voice has a certain way of flowing, and that flow is going to be the way you're going to mostly put it on the page. So do give that some consideration. That rising sun is beautiful. Now, for the next thing, this one's going to be going against the grain of a lot of advice that we're given. When we are practicing our writing, we're going to go for quantity over quality. Quantity over quality. And I know that oftentimes we're told quality over quantity, and that's not bad advice, that's good advice. But when you're practicing a skill set, you really need to think about quantity over quality. So don't forget, you can always just write everything out and then you can edit it later. There's no point in trying to make a perfect page to begin with. In fact, I would suggest avoiding falling into that trap. Do not try to make something perfect the first time. You might see something and then immediately think, I don't like that. That's not how that's supposed to be said. That's not how that's supposed to be written. Maybe you'll nitpick your own grammar or word choices, or say that's not the right word, or wonder if you know what the word is that you mean to use at all. Avoid that. Avoid that so much, because you will be able to edit when you are done writing, not before. Some people edit as they write. I'm not saying that's a bad way to do it, but focus on the quantity of the writing, not the quality of the writing, because you still will be unable to properly edit if you're not finished or if you don't have a complete idea. So the more that you can write out in one sitting, the better you are. If it's messy, if the punctuation's wrong, if the grammar doesn't line up, if the word choices could be improved, it's okay. When you're writing, write. When you're editing. So whatever goes on those pages that you've written, you'll clean them up later. But for now, quantity. Get it all out, all of it. Everything that's in your mind, or as much of it as you can. Now, for the last thing I'm going to suggest, this is just something that I believe is a truly good idea, and it works for me, but maybe it won't work for you, but give it a shot. Maintain 2 copies, at least, of your work. Now, depending on what you're doing, if you're writing, say, a short story, or you're writing a novel, or you're writing poems, this is going to be extraordinarily useful, because one is actually going to be the broad, long version, and the other is going to be where you're going to do your editing. So go ahead, save a second copy, or create a second copy. Ooh, yeah, there's that one. Create a second copy of your work. so that when you are working, when you do get to that final point, you're going to have your original form and format, and then you're going to have your edited version. And sometimes you're going to really need to reference back to your original, because maybe when you're editing something that you have previously edited out no longer applies, so you're going to want to be able to see that. Or maybe you've lost something, so that's going to be in your original document. You can always go back to your original as kind of a guide and a skeleton for what you're doing. So make sure you're maintaining 2 copies of your work, your writing. The one that is going to be raw and the one that is going to be edited. Now, truthfully, you're going to probably end up with several more copies after this as you go through additional steps of editing. But if you just make sure you have at least 2 copies to begin with, it's really going to help. And that's just going to make everything easier for you. And you're always going to be able to reference back to your original piece. It's truly going to improve the overall writing. And, maybe you used words that you changed and you can't remember what they were. So you look back at your original and you say, oh, there's those words. So when you're doing the editing. But this is really going to improve overall what you're doing. So just a quick overview. What we're going to want to do is you're going to want to practice your writing in your head to help yourself find your own voice. Describe and think and explain things the way you think, the way you take in information. After this, make sure you're writing quantity. Write it all, everything. Don't censor yourself. Don't stop yourself. Don't worry about your grammar, and do not worry about your punctuation or anything like that, because you're going to get to editing later. Right now, write it all. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be out. You can play with everything later. And you can rewrite. That's fine. And then finally, make sure that you have 2 copies of what you're working on. So you'll have your very raw copy, and then you'll have your copy that you're going to work with to edit. You don't want to edit the raw. You want to edit in a separate document, a separate file, a separate notebook. Edit there. Keep your raw so you can always refer back to it. You might have wonderful ideas in there. You probably do. Now, make sure to get yourself an extra cuppa. You deserve one. I'm sure you've done so much lately that just requires an extra cuppa. Coffee, tea, whatever it may be. Now, before I get going for the day, I would just like to mention one quick thing, and that is my stories available through Kindle Vella. Now, depending on where you're joining me, there's going to be a link somewhere nearby. You can click that. You can read those stories there. Now, on Kindle Vella, I do have stories. One of them is 30 Days in the Apocalypse with Dr. Ciencio Magnifico. And it is a wonderful sci-fi apocalyptic story focusing on internet celebrityhood. And it's also a bit of a comedy. It's a lot of fun. The primary characters that you meet right when the story picks up are Kitty, Ram, and Bam. Bam is actually a social media manager, and Kitty is our internet celebrity that you get to meet right away. Oh my goodness, that wind just, woof, that's coming. 30 Days in the Apocalypse is a whole lot of fun. There are currently 4 episodes available on Kindle Vella. Of course, on Kindle Vella, the first 3 episodes of any story are free. After that, you can unlock them with tokens that you use within the Vella library. Please consider going over, reading 30 Days in the Apocalypse. Please also consider leaving a review and hitting a thumbs up on each of those, because you can actually like each individual episode of someone's story. The Kindle Vella library is growing all the time. It only started last year. So it's still fresh, it's still new, but there's lots and lots of authors there. So you might find a lot of different stories you like. Now, I am actually going to get out of here, though. This wind is kicking up and it's a little bit chilly. So get your cuppa. Thank you for being here. Stay awesome and be excellent. And I'll see you all again real soon. Bye, everybody.